You are listening to an exclusive preview of this week's episode of STF Underground.
So let's talk about some of our predictions here, Fox. So Money in the Bank coming up this Sunday. What starts the show for you?
I think they kick it off with a ladder match. I think they traditionally start with one of the Money in the Bank matches. You want to put some space between the two. So I think they'll start with the women's ladder match. I think there's a little more star power on the men's side. So I think the men's will be either the main event or the one that goes on before. No, I think the men's one will be the main event, but I guess I answered the next question. But I think the women's starts the show.
So you have ending the show the men's Money in the Bank ladder match?
Correct.
So I almost agree with you. I do think that the women's Money in the Bank ladder match starts the show, but I have Becky and Charlotte ending the show.
Really?
Yeah, I have Becky and Charlotte ending the show.
Interesting.
And I'll talk about why once we get to that match here.
Okay.
But let's move on to some of our other predictions here. Starting with Tony Nese versus Arya Daivari, Cruiserweight Championship. Do we care?
I think it's too early for Tony to lose it.
Yeah, I agree. And there's nothing else that I really have to say about that match that I just lack interest in completely. Samoa Joe defends his United States Championship against Rey Mysterio. Who do you got?
I got Samoa Joe. I thought he had an awesome promo. Even just awesome. Samoa Joe is the best at just picking up a cell phone and just talking into it and being terrifying. But he built up. He did everything in like 120 seconds. He just built up the match. He trashed Dominic. He told Rey he was a scrub. I mean, it was perfect, and he was intimidating as hell. And I think Dominic inadvertently costs Rey the match. I don't think Rey needs the United States Championship. Dominic is definitely going to play a factor. Either Samoa Joe kind of utilizes Dominic as a shield or goes after him, causing Rey to make a mistake. I don't know. Samoa Joe wins.
Yeah, I actually have the same exact prediction. I think that, assuming that Dominic doesn't turn on old Daddy Rey here, which I don't think is going to happen, but that maybe Dominic gets pushed aside, maybe jumps on the apron and takes his heels off and then gets pushed to the side and, messes up his ankle like Lana. I think that will cost Rey the match.
Yep. Agreed.
Going into next match here, Roman Reigns versus Elias. Who do you got for that?
This one's tricky. Every fiber of my being says the smart money is on Roman Reigns winning, but they have such a renewed interest in Elias as of late, right? I think everybody's calling Roman Reigns winning. I think I'm going to go with Elias via tons and tons of shenanigans.
Oh, I as well. I'm going to walk with Elias on this one. I think exactly like you said, the person that should that the smart money does say is Roman Reigns, but I do think that the push goes to Elias right now because Roman doesn't need it, and they need to establish a top heel.
That's never stopped them before, but I just have a real funny feeling about this one, just with his association with Shane McMahon, and I just hope they keep him relatively strong. Obviously, there's going to be some tomfoolery, but I hope that.
Well, and it could be Lashley's involved somehow. There's plenty of ways that Roman Reigns can lose.
Yeah, I got Elias.
Moving on to Inside a Steel Cage. This one is personal, ladies and gentlemen. The Miz is going against Shane McMahon.
I got Miz. Shane won at WrestleMania, and I don't want to see this feud continue, right? I don't I think they both need to. They're on different brands. Technically, I mean, Shane can be anywhere, but I got the Miz. I think that he's got a lot of popularity right now, not just because of Miz and Mrs., but the crowd really kind of buys him as a upper card babyface. So maybe he moves on to some bigger, better things.
Do we see Shane jump off or do something off the cage?
Now that he's a heel, I don't feel like he gives us that. I feel like he teases it and then is like, nah. Because that's a very like heel Shane McMahon thing to do. I do think we see a Shane Terminator, though.
You know, with what I just said, I'm going to change my pick. I was going to say The Miz for sure, but I think that it's going to be Shane for the win. But I think it's going to be because of The Miz sending Shane flying off the steel cage through a table on the outside. Technically, Shane is on the outside first, but
he technically does something crazy, but not for the fans.
Exactly. He does that huge bump, which, Miz loses, but he's kind of okay with it. And it takes potentially Shane off TV for a couple weeks.
That's true. It's kind of similar to the WrestleMania ending in a little way, in that it was Miz doing the maneuver off that big platform, but Shane ended up winning. It would still be smart booking to me to do it that way. Yeah. But just for the sake of us not having every pick be the same, I'll stick with The Miz.
Let's see. Going forward with the next one here. Let's go with Becky versus Lacey Evans first, and then I'll go into my prediction is with Charlotte. So Becky, Lacey Evans.
I'm looking at both of these as literally like a gauntlet match with Becky. I would be very shocked if Becky had a match and then got to go to the back, rest up, come back for the second match. I really feel like they're going to be back to back. So we're talking Lacey Evans here. I think Becky beats Lacey Evans.
I think Becky beats Lacey Evans too. I want to say that
they need the star power on Raw.
Well, and that's why I think that that match will be second after the women's Money in the Bank match. And I personally think that Lacey Evans isn't ready, but she'll put on a good showing. And now that we know, and I guess we could talk about this now. Now that we know that officially Seth and Becky Lynch are officially dating, I think that it will be good to keep Becky on Monday Night Raw.
I did not even think of that, but I guess it makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they like to keep couples together, so that's a good thing in that sense. Now, here's the reason why, and I'm going to tell you, my pick for the women's Money in the Bank match. And my pick for the women's Money in the Bank match is Bayley, and we talked about that before. But I think that Charlotte actually beats Becky for the women's SmackDown championship, and Bayley immediately cashes in, and that will lead to a feud on SmackDown between Bayley and Charlotte. And Becky's on Raw doing her thing, splits them apart.
It's smart.
It's
smart booking. But you have, because you had Charlotte and Becky as the main event.
Yep.
Okay. So
for that reason, because you have the separation of the first match being the women's Money in the Bank match, followed by the cash-in to end the show with Bayley.
That makes sense. Okay, so just to make my argument not look so tepid, I feel like the reason that I have them together back-to-back is Becky beats Lacey Evans, but maybe she, gets a body part worked on, like an ankle or something like that, right, by Lacey Evans. So then Charlotte comes out, and she's at 100%. So even though Charlotte wins, there's that whole, you couldn't have beaten me if I was at 100%. Because we know they want that feud to continue all the way to Mania, apparently.
Well, I think that they could come back to it, though, because Charlotte did say this is the culmination of her feud with Becky Lynch and, Charlotte Flair that's happening. So I think that this is some finality to it, at least maybe until Survivor Series. I think that that's when they can start coming back to a little bit. But I think that with the popularity of Bayley, this is her time to really go at it with Charlotte and prove her worth. And, I think that this would be the surprise way to do it for her.
Fair enough. Yeah, this between the women's Money in the Bank and 2 women's World Championship matches, both with Becky Lynch, the chances of us being wrong on so many things, because if we get like one thing wrong, like, okay, who wins the Money in the Bank or who wins the Raw Championship or SmackDown, it changes like a ripple effect of like two matches after that, and it's like the whole thing changes. Like for example, you have Bayley winning the Money in the Bank. I have Mandy Rose winning the Money in the Bank, and if Mandy Rose wins the Money in the Bank, I don't see her cashing in on Charlotte. I would see Becky winning, and she cashes in on Becky.
So I only don't have, because Mandy Rose would clearly be my second choice to win the women's Money in the Bank match. The only reason why, and they mentioned it tonight, is I think that Sonya Deville will cost Mandy Rose that opportunity.
Did they hint at that tonight?
I mean, they've been hinting at it for weeks, and the
Iconics
the Iconics on commentary said, they're on again, off again, and, you never know when one's going to turn on the other. And Sonya Deville actually went out of her way to give Mandy Rose her spot in the Money in the Bank match. So I think that there's a little bit more story.
There is, and I think it could be a swerve in terms of Sonya Deville comes out, Mandy Rose is like thinking that she's going to get attacked or whatever, and then in the end, Sonya actually helps her climb up the ladder and get it.
Could be, for sure. Next, we have Seth Rollins against AJ Styles. With AJ being the guy that built SmackDown Live, right?
Yes, he is. We have an architect and a contract builder. So,
who do you got?
And then there's a big dog in the yard. So. It's a whole homeowners unit. I don't know where I was going with that. I have Seth only because he hasn't really had any title defenses. They made a big deal out of him winning at WrestleMania. They've been hinting at an AJ Styles like heel turn, but to me I don't think they're gonna pull the trigger on it. It's tough, but I just don't think that they would like pull the rug out from under Seth already.
I completely agree with your logic. I just think that Seth needs to hold it longer, so that's my reasoning for picking him as well.
And maybe Seth winning is what pushes AJ to a more heelish thing. I could see Seth winning and then AJ attacking him after the match.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. And it'd be good to extend the feud if they need to.
Extend the feud, yeah. It's not one and done.
Yeah, this one doesn't need to be a one and done. I think that it could easily go on another month or two. So, Kofi Kingston versus Kevin Owens, WWE Championship match going on here. For me, this one is a toss-up to me. I want to say Kofi just because I think it is still Kofi Mania. He's still popular, but I do think that that's dying down, and there's a lot of stories that can be told with Kofi being the chaser again, stories to be told with him and Xavier Woods potentially, and I do think that SmackDown could benefit from a heel champion as well, and that could be Kevin Owens.
I really want to see Kofi hang on to it, and I love Kevin Owens, and I think that the plan was always to give Kevin Owens, the run with the belt, which I think he will get. I just don't want. This is more of like I'm voting with the heart here because, yes, I think they did a really good job with Kofi in terms of he had a good number of title defenses. Defended against Daniel Bryan and had back-to-back defenses in the same week. I just don't. I don't want this to feel like Kofi's. There you go. Thanks for all you've done, buddy. Title reign.
Yeah, I agree with that, and that's the only reason that, again, kind of voting with the heart there, that I would pick Kofi. But I think that it could be smart. I mean, they could keep him in the title picture while keeping Owens, making Owens a champion. But I do really like what they've been doing with Kofi as far as making him a strong babyface champion. I think they've been doing a good job of that.
Yep. It'll be, like I said, with Sami Zayn coming out tonight, it'll be interesting to see if they do anything with that. I feel like there's some interesting possibilities with that.
Totally agree. As far as the last match here, men's Money in the Bank. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but I think that there's been some new dynamics thrown into here. I'll give you my pick first. I'm still picking Drew McIntyre like we talked about a couple weeks ago. But again, I do think that if anybody not Drew McIntyre is going to win this, I think Sami Zayn could easily win this match and be a convincing, obnoxious Money in the Bank holder and be the person that just riles up the fans with that briefcase. I think that'd be really, really good.
No, that would be so entertaining. And I had Drew McIntyre winning this thing the whole way up until this past week. He's going to get Strowmanized for sure. I have Sami Zayn winning it, but I kind of have it flipped. So you have Drew as 1, Sami as 2. I've got Sami as 1, Drew as 2. Corbin definitely getting taken out by Strowman for sure. And then it's kind of like Andrade got the win tonight in the Fatal 4-Way.
So he's definitely not
winning.
winning.
I kind of just feel like you can't win twice in a row. What is this? This is WWE. You don't know any better. And I feel like Finn Balor, all those guys on SmackDown are really there for some great spots. Mustafa Ali and Ricochet are going to have some really incredible moments. And then, yeah, like I said, I think Corbin and McIntyre get taken out by Strowman. So I would love Sami Zayn with this thing. I think that the promos that he could cut are great. And then he's such a little sneaky, slimy character. You don't know if Kevin Owens won. He's not above cashing in on Kevin Owens just because they have a friendship in the past.
I mean, assuming that they allow with this wild card now for someone to cash in on somebody from the other brand, that could definitely be very interesting too.
Like what you heard? New episodes drop every week. If you want more content, follow us on Facebook at STF Underground Podcast or on Twitter and Instagram at STF Underground.